Lesson one is, in a sense, the most difficult. Not that it's technically difficult at all, but it's a question of training. And because we've been indoctrinated with a worldview which has, shall we say, very little to do with the universe as it really is, we have problems connecting ourselves with the universe. And this worldview, goes back many, many hundreds of years. It was originally created for political purposes and now serves as a block on our well-being and a primary tool through which, shall we say, undesirable elements have gained access to your wealth, for example. And it's about this, it's about the indoctrination that a human being is a physical body. That's the indoctrination that we have to not overcome, because there's a certain amount of truth in it, but we have to expand it to take in the rest of what a human being is. And a human being is a lot more than the physical body. We had, for example, for many, many years, this belief that consciousness at some magical point, which had never been found or defined or described or even theoretically explained, just magically appears at some point along the chain of the DNA. And it was only at the completion of the Human Genome Project, when it was discovered that of the more than 200,000 genes which would have been necessary to explain the theory of genetic determinism, that is, your genes determine how you think and behave and believe, and it was discovered that there are only 22,000, that is, 180,000 missing. It was only then that it was proven that the theory of genetic determinism, that is, that your human being is the body and consciousness suddenly materializes from nowhere, somewhere in the gene chain. All these theories are total nonsense. And what's true is that consciousness determines the activity of the genes and not the other way around. So consciousness is, scientifically speaking, and the key word to search for is epigenetics. Consciousness is much, much bigger than the physical body. Much more important, consciousness lies above the body and determines what happens in the body. It is this which makes the work of a healer much simpler. You see, the way your body looks, the way your body moves, all sorts of little things that you can spend decades studying if you want to, show the way in which you habitually live. So a healer just needs to take one look at you and already has a pretty good idea of where the sources of the problem that you brought to him or her are going to be, merely by the way in which you look and the way in which you move. And the way in which you look and the way in which you move are determined not by genes. If they were, everyone would look pretty much the same. And certainly the way in which you move cannot be determined by genes, but only by consciousness. That is, the way in which you think, the way in which you believe about yourself. And it is this belief about yourself is the prime obstacle that we have to expand in order to make it possible for you to do things like the healing transmissions. Now, how exactly are we going to do this? Because it's easy to say, well, that's what we have to do, but what's the way? Well, again, there are many steps to get there. The first is to feel your heart. Now, the heart is in the middle of the body, in the middle of the chest. I know lots and lots of people put their hands on their hearts, but that's your stomach, not your heart. Your heart is here. Just get yourself any book on basic anatomy and you'll see the heart is here. And the heart is the organ which has the best connection with the quantum fields. Again, modern science shows that the brain in here has a field of radiation about this big. The heart radiation has already been detected to around 30 feet and more, and the border, 30 feet, lies in the fact that the sensitivity of the equipment doing the testing, that's the maximum field of sensitivity. The theory says it goes much, much further than that, but we don't as yet have or science doesn't yet have the equipment in an engineering sense to detect it any further than that. However, a healer does, and the way in which the transmissions work shows that this connection is infinite. Again, we have this theory of synchronicity and singularity. That is, everything is in no time connected to everything else. This is the theory of the holographic universe, which is what Nassim Haramein was explaining to us in September at the symposium. So that which I do here also has an effect there, and it's a question of tuning and resonance as to whether a direct contact is possible. However, this is at a later lesson. What we now are concerning ourselves with is feeling yourself, not this bit, the whole, because the whole has this direct contact with the entire universe, and when you're in the whole you can feel it. You can feel it to some extent anyway. For example, when you walk into a room, you feel the atmosphere. You know whether this is a happy gathering, you know whether it's dead, you know whether people are angry, you know whether there's a lot of tension. You walk in and you feel it. And that's where most people stop. They don't take notice of what they feel. However, if you want to be a clairvoyant, this is where you start. You observe what you feel. You notice what you feel, and you just keep practicing. And every time that you do this, you will find that you pick up more and more and more information directly from the fields of energy around you which connect everyone. Not difficult, but it does require practice. So this is your first lesson, is to notice what you feel. And it's very, very helpful to do this at the heart level. It's much more difficult to do it at the head level. So a simple exercise to get you focused in your heart is to just sit quite comfortably with your spine erect, or as erect as possible. Close your eyes and breathe slowly and deeply. And with every out breath, just feel yourself sinking more and more into yourself from your head. Next breath down to your jaw. Next breath down to your neck. Next breath down to your throat. Next breath down to your chest. And the next breath down to the middle, to your heart. And just stay breathing in your heart. This is actually the first exercise to practice breathing in your heart for 10 to 15 minutes every day. This does have some very interesting side effects. You become much more peaceful and you become much more aware of what's going on around you. So all these things have nice side effects, even if it's not your intention to go on to be able to give the full transmissions. So these are the first two things. Focus in your heart and then practice noticing what you feel.